Greetings gamers, Tim here again, and today we're doing RPG a Day number 28, which is the scariest RPG you've ever played. And you know, I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever experienced anything more than a momentary, my character's gonna die feeling in a role-playing game, which is really a shame because I like horror games, I like horror gaming, but I have never really sat at the table with a fantastic horror game. You know, there are times when I've really enjoyed the games I've been in that were horror games, but they never actually caused any tension or fear or shock. So it's about all I can say. I mean, this is going to be a really short video. On the other hand, I can talk about games I've run. In the past, I've had people quit gaming with me because I triggered their phobias. Spider phobias, claustrophobia, and other things. And it wasn't even intentional. These weren't necessarily horror games. They might have leaned a little dark, but they weren't horror games. And apparently my descriptions were good enough to hit the nail on the head and drive home a spark of natural fear that the person's already got a tendency towards. And let me put it this way. I do not want to diminish or indicate somebody with a phobia is weak or, problematic in any way. We all have our own little issues. And a phobia is not one I can laugh at. As I said, we've all got our own issues, and a phobia is just one for someone else, And I have walked through haunted houses, one I even worked at briefly, and laughed and laughed and laughed. Well, it also helped that quite a few of them were going, "Hi, Tim," and I'm like, "Guys, keep character, scare the other people around me." But even if I hadn't, I would have probably laughed at the haunted house, because while somebody jumps out at you, the sudden shock of not expecting that is frightful. And I might have reacted to that kind of thing, but at this time, I didn't. I didn't even react to, people chasing me around with chainsaws. I just, it's not to say I don't have fears. It's not to say that I don't have my own phobias. It's just that I don't tend to be easy to shake up that way. That doesn't mean again, let me reiterate, I have fears. There are a lot of fears I have. But many of my fears are about more common mundane things that I run into all the time. So in many ways, I'm immune to the overt effects of such little fears. And there are some really great fear games out there, such as Little Fears. It was fantastic, the first edition. I've never picked up the second edition, but I've heard good things. I like Call of Cthulhu. I like Little Fears. I even like the New World of Darkness core book. And that says a lot to me about how well it was written. It's not perfect, but it moved me. I don't own any supplements for it. Not a single one, because I didn't much care for their take on werewolves or vampires or any of that. But as a core book, the New World of Darkness book really conveyed the sense of atmosphere that I was interested in. And they're doing a second edition, which is a great thing in my mind, because I will probably pick up their second edition, hoping that they will manage to pull off the atmosphere and feel of the first edition of the New World of Darkness book. I don't know what else to say. We've covered fears, other people's fears, fear gaming. I like Chill. I love Chill. I like both editions of Chill. The only one I own, however, was the second edition Chill put out by Mayfair, and I had to trade for that. So, I owned it when it was new, and somewhere lost track of it, gave it away something, and picked it up again as a used book along with a bunch of supplements for it. And there's a third edition of that coming, so I'm really looking forward to a third edition of Chill. So, good horror gaming is out there. The games are there. Actually generating the tension and fear, I don't know. And I hear a lot of good things about the one dread game that uses Jenga, but I have issues with any game that uses another game to resolve its mechanics. Because while that can create a little bit of tension, it's not going to create fear. Worry about something bad is going to happen in a game to these little blocks isn't the same thing as the visceral feel in here of looking over my shoulder, of wanting to turn on the lights. And some horror movies work really well on me, some don't. But we each have our own things that work, and horror is different for each person. I had several people I couldn't go watch horror movies with because either they would laugh through them, which I have done a few times. It's not fair to them, but I would laugh through them, or logically think about it in such a way. Blair Witch Project was terrible for me because I'm like, you people are idiots. Now, part of it is Blair Witch Project was not well explained. The whole thing going on that was meant to be supernatural, that could be explained away, but the more supernatural elements of it weren't told to us in the movie. You had to watch their little special on TV, I guess on the Sci-Fi Channel back in the day, to get any of the information that they were, actually transported back in time to this horrible time. That's why they couldn't find any way out of the forest, because there was no way out of that forest. At least not one that they could reasonably find in a little bit of travel. But you didn't get that from the movie, so it was a terrible movie. And I don't know. I have had things that horrified me in movies that weren't even supposed to be horror movies. Callously shooting someone in a couple of movies, and I'm okay with an action hero shooting the bad guy, but there have been a few times where I've watched a movie where they just callously murder somebody in cold blood, not the hero, but the bad guys usually. And was like, that was totally unreasonable and uncalled for and so brutal that's terrifying, because I know out there somewhere there's probably somebody who has done something like that, and that scares me more than most anything else, that we can find pleasure in those moments of absolute brutality and darkness. It's okay to have horror games. It's okay to have darkness and even some brutality in games. I'm okay with that. But there's a point at which you have to pull back and say, whoa, I want my gaming to be something else. I want my gaming to mean something in my entertainment feel. It's got to be something that says, heroes can make a difference, or I don't accept that brutality and want to change it in a game, or whatever. To me, it's important. Anyway, so horror gaming and me have not really clicked for myself, anyway, in terms of me feeling anything. Other people, I've been asked many, many times to run horror games, so I hope I'm doing it right. Most of what I do is based on books I've read in terms of feel. When I want to get horror, I do atmospheric stuff, and I play up the descriptions, and I cheat. Let me be honest, horror works best when you cheat, when there's no reasonable way for something to happen and then just does. I had a werewolf game, not actually Werewolf the game, but a game where the bad guy was a werewolf. And instead of doing what I normally did, I let a player play the werewolf. He didn't know it because I had his transitions be almost instantaneous. And they only worked when the moon was out, which allowed me to time the movement of clouds so he could be a person 1 minute and a werewolf the next. We didn't bother with explanations of where his clothes went and why he didn't ask where my clothes went. But, it let me have transitions where somebody's knocking on the door. They hear this horrible noise. They open the door and a corpse falls forward because the werewolf struck that fast and killed that person and just, tore them in two that fast. And the transition worked. It helped me convey a feeling of darkness. Now, I don't know if my players in that one were particularly scared, but they really, really loved that game and wanted me to continue it, even though there was a total party kill. And it was a one-shot. So I was okay if they did something that got them all killed, and they did. They caused an avalanche. They buried themselves all in tons of snow. And I don't even think the werewolf would have gotten out of that one because, you know, kind of hard when you can't breathe at all and move at all. And it's, you know, even supernatural stuff only goes so far for me. But, you know, maybe someday I will luck out and find a GM or have a GM who manages to hit my buttons just right. Not enough to make me go, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. But enough to make me go, wow, this was awesome. I can hope. And if you have any good gaming tips for doing horror, share them with us. Share them with us in a video. Share them with us in a text. Share them with the world on a forum. I don't care where. Just share them because I think it would be a good thing to spread that information and those skills, if you can, to make for better gaming. Anyway, peace and good gaming. I'm out.